Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Megan. Today is a little bit of a different video. I am just gonna sit down and chat, and I hope I don't put my foot in my mouth. I have done that a lot when I was younger, and I hope I come off just like, I hope I just come off like I'm just giving my own opinion, but not like judging anybody, because I don't want to do that. But I just kind of want to share with you a little bit about like philosophy on thought, I guess, for our family, and our philosophy on food. And the reason I'm sharing this is because in one of my videos, there's a lot of discussion right now on, it's basically over eczema and or any skin issues and how food really relates to that. And people are talking about starting with a diet, blah, blah, blah. I totally agree with in some way. But anyway, I'm just going to kind of talk about our thoughts as a family, and hopefully you kind of understand a little bit more about who we are through this, and maybe it can make you start to think about certain things as well. So in this video, people were commenting about starting with the diet and how that could get rid of eczema and all these things, and people are agreeing, people are disagreeing. You should get rid of dairy, you should do this, you should do that. So I'm gonna try to like not give too much of a history and make this a forever long video, but long story short, I have done like every single diet you could ever think of in the last 10 years. And I feel like our family is finally at a place of contentment and like where I always wanted to be mindset wise. And that comes with, over the last few years, I think our eyes being open to this homesteading world and community and way of life. And so with that, our eyes have been open to different things about food, and we've been educated a lot more on bread and milk and all the things that society now, I would say the fitness world, the fitness community, because I was a part of this fitness community in my past and I was gung-ho in it, and I did what they told me to do, and I had like eating disorder, binge eating, and I come from that background community. And now I'm transitioning, which I still like work out and I enjoy it and whatever, but it's not my life. That was like my identity before. I'm coming out of that identity and realizing, first of all, my identity number one is in Christ. Number two, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and how can I be cultivating well in our family, on our farm, when we move to our farm in a month or so, with my kids, with my husband, their lives well, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that, taking that into consideration. And with my experience of being so extreme in dieting and all the different types, I've done, keto, Whole30, all this stuff, I found that it was so mentally exhausting to just be depriving yourselves of food, certain types of food, whatever. Now, I'm gonna stop and say, if you have an actual health issue, if you have actual problems that come up, then that is a different story. But I'm just speaking in general. The only thing that we've noticed is like the slightest, tiniest eczema that my son had when he was 4 months old. And he was nursing, and he wasn't eating foods or anything. He's nursing, so he's getting like my nutrition from my milk. But I wasn't doing anything special. I wasn't dieting anything. He was getting dairy. He was getting all this stuff. So anyway, if you have, that's the only thing we've ever dealt with as a family. If you have like an actual health problem, then this is gonna not really apply to you necessarily. And also, I'm not trying to give advice. I'm just trying to tell you what we are doing as a family. I'll get into that in a second. But anyway, where we're at now is we are not afraid to eat carbs We're not afraid to eat bread and pasta. My husband's like favorite meals in the world are Italian pasta dinners, and he loves bread. And it like feeds his stomach, obviously, but it really feeds his soul when he like comes home and he sits down and I have like this nice pasta dinner with bread. He just sits there and it's just like, oh, this is exactly what I needed, you know? And I am trying to feed my family, not just physically with what I'm giving them. Now, I feel like there's discernment in this and there has to be wisdom. I'm not like feeding them because it makes them happy and I'm just gonna feed them ice cream all the time. That doesn't make sense. I think most people understand that. And so there has to be a balance of what we're deciding to eat. So we do carbs, we do bread, we do sourdough because there's beneficial bacteria in making sourdough for our gut. So we do a lot of sourdough. We've gotten into that. We do raw milk when we can because there are a ton of benefits from raw milk. Side note, if you disagree with me on this stuff, that's okay. If you disagree and you think raw milk, oh my gosh, how could you ever be drinking raw milk because it'll kill you? Okay, you have that opinion. That's totally fine. You don't have to do that. We have done the research on most of these things pretty extensively, I would say. We are really passionate about, how am I going to put this? Okay, a mentor of ours introduced the word assiduous to my husband. And that has kind of been like our family's, it's not a motto, our family's word since we learned that like 6 years ago. And being assiduous just means that you are being conscious of every decision. You're making every decision for a reason and you know why you're making that decision. And so we're really passionate about that. And we try to do that in most things of our daily life. So we're not just going along with what people are saying. I'm not just hearing, drink raw milk. Okay, I'll go get raw milk. No, let me look up and research all the stuff about raw milk and pasteurized milk, and let's make a decision. So we drink raw milk when we can get it. Right now, I don't have access to it, so we're just drinking regular milk. And I do notice a little bit of a difference for me. I feel like my stomach can't handle as much. It's not a huge deal, but we do that. I eat other dairy products. I eat cottage cheese like every single day because I feel like that's a really great way for me to get protein in. If I don't eat that for lunch and other things, I feel like my protein throughout the day is a lot lower. What else do? We eat a lot of vegetables from the garden. I grow a lot of the garden food. But this is the other thing though too, is that we also buy things from the store. We do get grass-fed meat, local when we can. We get local honey. We do all these beneficial things, but we also, every once in a while, I will buy a pop tube of biscuits because guess what? It's a hard season of life right now and I need easy and my kids love biscuits and I want to serve them in that way because when they find out that we're having biscuits for breakfast, they are like, yes, we're having biscuits. Oh yeah, did you hear we're having biscuits? No matter like what it is, if it's sourdough biscuits or if it's like the pop tube biscuits, they're just excited to have biscuits. And so I want to say that we don't say no to anything. I think you could really get caught in a rut if you were like, we don't ever do this. I don't ever drink milk from the store, or I don't know. I just think there's multiple schools of thought or multiple camps, I guess. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? My dog is like whining, not whining. Why are you crying? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Okay, so I feel like there are multiple like camps that people are in. I feel like, at least this is what I see. I feel like there's this camp of the culture, like today's culture, fitnessy people, whatever, eating like super strict, super healthy, no dairy. I think of like Whole30 for some reason. I think of CrossFit and I think of paleo because that's my background. I feel like there's those people. And I'm not trying to like generalize, but I am generalizing. There's those people. And I'm coming into like the homesteading community, and then there's these people who are like scratch made everything, and we have to never buy anything from a store, and I have to do that at all costs. And there's that. And I just feel like I want to be in the middle somewhere. We do sometimes, like right now, actually, today I decided over the next 3 weeks, I'm not going to do any processed sugar for me. Now, if my kids are like, you know what, I might even not do that because I just thought we have 2 birthdays in that week in our family. So that might not be ideal. But anyway, I will go through like seasons. Like in October, I went through all of October. I didn't have any processed sugar and I just used maple syrup and honey to sweeten stuff. That doesn't mean I'm never going to do sugar. I just felt like for my body, I needed to do that because I was feeling so like bogged down and energy wise. I felt bad. And I kind of felt like I knew what my body needed at that point and what I needed to do. I will not, and I have been tempted many times in the last few years of having children and wanting to get my body back to where it was. I've been tempted to do Whole30s. I've been tempted to do keto. Actually, I think I did do keto like 2 years ago was the last time I did like a diet. And guess what? I got down to like my pre baby weight, my first baby, before that. And I wasn't like any more happy or anything or content than what I am normally. But anyway, I have been tempted. I will not do another like challenge, Whole30 challenge. I just think that's silly because of where I've come over the last like 10 years of doing those types of things. Because like, what's the purpose? Why am I doing this? And that's what I need to think about is why do I want to do this? You know, if you have a food sensitivity or something and you're really trying to figure that out, that's a different story. For me, my problem is I'm always thinking about how I look. That's the only reason. And so if you actually are you have horrible eczema or something, and you're really trying to figure it out, then yeah, maybe you should do an elimination diet. But the whole reason I'm making this video is because what I feel like you need to be doing, I don't want to be saying you need to be doing this, but we all need to be doing is researching for ourselves, figuring it out for ourselves. Now, I feel like you could use a doctor, or I don't know if you go to doctors, if you don't go to doctors. If I'm talking to the homesteading community, a lot of people don't like do doctors, whatever. You can have guidance from other people for sure. But I feel like you need to be researching things for yourself, looking at both sides of the coin, and really looking into these decisions for yourself and for your family. Okay. So really, the whole point I'm trying to get at here is that I feel like we have to do our own research. I don't think telling somebody or hearing something from somebody saying, you shouldn't do this, you should cut out dairy, and that is the best thing for you to do. Or you should cut out these grains, and that's the best thing for you to do, and you take it, and that's what you run with. You have to be looking at things for yourself. That kind of just brings me into that whole realm of life in general, is thinking for ourselves. I feel like we have gotten to a point in our culture, and I don't know about different countries, I just know about the United States in general. we've gotten to this point, I think, of where we don't know how to think anymore. We just consume all day long. We consume media, social media, whatever else, and like we consume food. We can like all we're doing is consuming. And when you're just consuming all day long, you're not thinking about why things are happening, or who's doing this, or who's benefiting from this, or what's going on behind the scenes, or whatever. And you could really go down a rabbit hole with this, but I feel like we have to start thinking for ourselves. My husband and me are really passionate about teaching our children how to think, not just what to think. We feel like that's what we were taught in schools and college, was pass the exam and move on. Like, pass the exam, move on. I'm not learning anything. I went to college and I got my bachelor's degree and my master's degree, and I could not even tell you honestly what I learned. I got it because I just passed the test, I studied for, and that was it. And it's really unfortunate. And so I think it's really important to look at things yourselves. There are a lot of resources to look at, but even when you're looking at resources or research or anything like that, you have to be thinking about that as well. You have to be looking at, I was talking to somebody in the comments of that same video, they were talking about essential oils, and I don't need to get into it, but I basically responded with, she gave me a study to look at. I looked at it and I found another study that was actually like cross-examining that study, and I don't know what is right and what's not right necessarily. I know what we do with the topic that she was talking about for our family, but I looked at both studies and they were opposing each other kind of, but we have to look at those studies or research or whatever and look at who's funding them, who's benefiting from them, who's doing the research, how many people are in this study, are there other variables? So there's a lot to think about. And that's the beauty of the United States of America, I think. Number one, we're the greatest country on earth. And I want to say that very boldly and very strongly because we have so much freedom that people have forgotten about. So many countries don't even have like access to information about their country's histories and things like that. And that's crazy. So we have so much information. Now, is that information getting skewed nowadays? I think so. Again, I'm not trying to be controversial. You can think whatever you want. I'm not telling you what to think. That's the point of this video, is like, think for yourself. You and your husband, or you and your wife, or whoever, think about how to think. And I really just think that's so important. And we have to teach our children that, because our culture and society want us to be consumers, and they want us to rely on other people. And the purpose of the Constitution of the United States was to be for a people of self-governing people. And when we lose that, all of that doesn't make sense anymore. And I think it's really important to teach that to our children so it doesn't get lost. This was really long-winded, and I know this is weird because I was talking about food, and now I've talked about research, and now I'm talking about like being self-governed. It's all kind of like a mess, but I was just thinking about it today and how I just feel like it's important not to just look at a comment and take it for what it says. And I appreciate the comments that I have gotten on videos of people sharing their opinions on things, or go look at this study, or things like that. And if somebody has an actual link to something like that, awesome, even better. But what I don't think we need to be saying is you should not eat dairy, or you should, and I'm not trying to like call anybody out, like I'm just giving an example, because again, people have different experiences. Our bodies are different. Our lives are different. There's so many variables. But I don't think we can just generalize and say like, you can't eat this. you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't use this essential oil ever. And like make these bold statements like that. But instead, you know, maybe say like, hey, I've heard this, maybe you should look into it, which I've had people say, which has been great. So I really hope, I'm not trying to come off like harsh. I just want to say differing opinions are good. And I want to keep that. I love that. And we've found so many people are so uncomfortable having those conversations of like, just not controversial, but just confrontation, I guess. Even people are afraid of it nowadays. And I don't mean confrontation like a bad thing, but I'm also just I've been told that confrontation comes easy to me. Like, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, like addressing confrontation, which I really don't like doing. My heart like races when I like have to say something different to other people, and I've had to do it multiple times in my life, but I've been told that. And I don't want to like come off harsh, but confrontation is a good thing if we can keep it like cordial. And so I want to encourage people to like keep commenting and keep saying, you know, maybe look into this. Oh, I've done this. Maybe you should consider it, or whatever. We can't be saying like these are like the exact things you have to be doing, because it's different for everybody. In terms of like food, I'm talking in terms of food and things like that. There are truths in the realm of life that are like, for sure, I believe that they need to be said. Maybe like you can't drink alcohol every day of your life and like all minutes of your life because you'll die. Like, okay, like that's a different scenario. So I'm not like, this isn't a huge broad like spectrum thing, but in terms of like food and health for the everyday person who's not having crazy health issues and things, I just think we need to be mindful that it's not a one size fits all. And when it comes to thoughts, we need to learn how to think. So that is a lot. I feel like I'm just like word vomiting, but I just wanted to get it out there, and maybe you can understand a little bit more of my brain and understand me a little bit more. I don't know. And sorry, I do get long-winded sometimes and I don't articulate myself in the best way. I'm working on it. I'm gonna try to get to the point quicker sometimes, but sometimes I need to like verbally process how I'm putting it all together in my brain out loud. So anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. See you later. Bye.